So I got some good news and I got some bad news, but boy, oh boy, not again. This cannot be happening with the economy and real estate. Wait till you see this information coming up. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your #1 real estate resource here in beautiful Las Vegas. Hey guys, a couple of quick things before we dive into the video. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn the cold hard facts about the Las Vegas real estate market and real estate in general, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Number 2, make sure to also give me a thumbs up like, guys. That would really help the channel out. And number 3, if you are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, whether it's next month or next year, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. Just call, text, or email me when that time is right for you, and I'd be happy to help you find that perfect home. Let's dive into the video. All right, so unfortunately, most of this is bad news with a little bit of good news potentially sprinkled into the residential real estate market at a later date, but we'll go over that in just a second. Let's start with the bad news first. The bad news is that the Fed is just about to raise rates yet again, and they're likely going to do it potentially later this year. They keep raising rates because they know inflation still isn't under control, even though the media keeps reporting that inflation is coming down. Very few people are feeling those effects. It's also going to potentially crash the commercial real estate market, and that's also going to be a major problem that spills over into the residential market. Unemployment is likely to go up. Student loan forbearance is now ending, which means student loans are getting back into the mix. All of these things spell trouble for the economy in the coming months. The good news, the little bit of good news and the silver lining to the residential real estate market is that because rates are going up and there's going to be less buyer demand and there's going to likely be more foreclosures and more selling of properties as well as new homes coming on the market, inventory is likely going to go up. Buyer demand is definitely going to drop, especially as we get to the end of this year. And that means later this year into early 2024, my prediction is that home prices are going to start to have meaningful drops. And I'm going to show you in the upcoming segments exactly how that's going to unfold. So I have several new articles and graphics that I want to show you guys, but I really had to start with this article that just came out last week from Yahoo Finance because this is really quite laughable. Take a look at the headline here, which says, Americans haven't felt this good about the economy in almost 2 years. Let me ask you guys a question before we dive into the details of this article. Do you feel good about the economy? Because I sure as hell don't, and everyone else that I talk to doesn't feel good about it either. But here's what they're saying in the article. When you scroll down here, this basically is the chart for U.S. consumer sentiment. Now, if we take a look back here, it's saying that it's rising at the fastest pace since 2005. Now, if you look right here to the far right where that little circle is, that's the current U.S. sentiment, okay? Now, we were down here a little bit lower towards the beginning part of the year, but if we draw a straight line right across to right there, where I'm moving the arrow, that was the starting point of the pandemic. So to say that right now our positive consumer sentiment is now back to the levels of the start of the pandemic isn't saying much. In fact, it's nonsensical, and I'm not the only one that thinks this way. Take a look at the bottom of this article where there's almost 10,000 comments here, and almost all of the sentiment here is negative. In fact, I want to read a few of these to you guys just to show you some of the sentiment here. Let's take a look at this first one right here by this person, Jay. It says, it's about $75 for 2 to 3 bags of small groceries. Who feels good about this? The next one says, haven't felt this good in 2 years, question mark? Well, that's not saying much when thinking about how awful it has been. This person down here says, at least once a week there's an article about how much demand is up at the food banks. Is this the sign of a good economy? So does that sound like positive consumer sentiment? It isn't. Most people feel this way. Most people are negative on the economy. This article is basically saying, hey, we were really miserable and now we're just a little bit less miserable. It's ridiculous. And in the upcoming segments, I'm going to talk to you guys about why I think we're on the verge of a recession on the back half of this year and how that's going to definitely impact real estate prices. All right, so I want you guys to take a look at about a 45-second video clip from a popular YouTuber talking about inflation and the economy and also how that relates back to home prices. I want you guys to watch that clip, and then I'm going to come back on the other side and comment on it.
If you were ever wondering when to buy a house and when to get a loan, you should be looking not at the headline inflation number, which right now is 3%, but the core inflation number. And the core inflation index reads 4.8%, which is lower than where it was before above 5, but still not where it should be, which is 2%. So the Federal Reserve will only start to lower interest rates when that core inflation index number reaches a lot closer to their 2% target rate. And according to Papa Jerome Powell, here's exactly when that's probably going to happen.
I don't see us getting back to 2% this year or next year.
You don't?
No. I see us making progress, steady progress on, this is core inflation.
Yeah.
Headline inflation is coming down now, it's lower than core. But for core inflation, I don't see us getting to 2% this year or next year. I see us getting there the year after.
All right, so let's just break this down into simple terms. The big takeaway is this: inflation is not under control. The Fed continues to raise rates because it's still too high. You saw in that video clip that it's really hovering close to that 5% number, and the Fed wants it down to 2%. In order for them to get it down to 2%, they're going to have to continue to raise rates. Now, here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. They are going to raise rates again probably this month and possibly in September as well, and then they're going to potentially raise even more. And then what happens is, after they get closer to that inflation number that they want, unfortunately, that could cause a recessionary problem. That recessionary problem is definitely, in my opinion, going to bleed into 2024, and there's going to be a long lag effect until we potentially see meaningful real estate price drops. That's why I think 2024, well into that year, is potentially going to be the better time or the bottoming of real estate prices. So let's take a look at this article that just came out last week as well. You can see the headline here, which says U.S. home prices still face a steep and sustained decline this year, economist warns. About 3 paragraphs down right here, it says, "We are baffled by the emerging narrative that housing is now recovering because it isn't." As we go a little bit deeper down into the article here, he's quoted again saying, "Home sales can't recover until affordability improves, which requires lower mortgage rates or falling home prices or both." And that's what I keep saying, guys. We have very high home prices, and now we have very high interest rates near 20-year highs. Something eventually has to give, and because rates are likely going up, eventually home prices are going to come down. Now, again, it remains to be seen as to when that's going to happen, but I think that's going to lean towards the end of this year and into the early part of 2024 because rates are going higher. That means it's going to be even less affordable, which means buyer demand is going to drop, inventory is going to increase, and I think that's where we start to see meaningful price drops by the time we get to the new year. All right, so just to piggyback off of that last segment, now I want to look at the inventory specifically here in my neck of the woods in Las Vegas. I want you to take a look at this chart. I put some red markings on it. This is a bar chart that goes back 1 year. So let's do this. Let's go over to the left side of the chart last July, and you can see right at the top of there, if you can't read it, it says about 5,500 homes were for sale last July. And then you can see that the chart moves up, 7,100, 7,900, 8,000, and then we got to almost about 8,100 homes right here in the peak levels of inventory last November. Then we saw the steady decline. You could see it go down to 7,000, 6,000, 5, 4, and then the current levels right now in July, we're just at about 3,500 homes for sale. Now here's what I want you guys to take a look at. I know a lot of people again keep saying this is why home prices are so high because inventory is so low, but take a look at more of a macro zoomed out picture. Look over here to the left side again. Once we get to the July-August period, look at where September, October, November, December, right in this time period, this is the bulk of where all the inventory started to increase. Now, obviously, we've seen it decrease here in Las Vegas going down through this summer time period. But again, history repeating itself, typically in the wintertime, this is where we see the bulk of the inventory and lower sales. So again, when you see inventory declining like this is what I'm talking about. You don't want to be buying into this situation now when we see low inventory. We want to see inventories back to like these levels, but this is likely going to take, again, like it did last year, into the holiday time period. That's when I think, again, especially in Las Vegas, we're going to see better price points. All right, so now let's take a look at the median home price chart over the course of this year and all of last year, because this is a really good indicator to determine where potential home prices are headed, not only in Las Vegas, but potentially throughout the country. I want you to take a look at these two smaller charts down here at the bottom, because when I look at this is when I say to myself, oh boy, not again. A lot of people don't see that this same pattern is going to repeat potentially this year, just like last year. So let's take a look at it. Over on the left side here, this is the beginning of 2022, where I'm moving the arrow right here. This, you see all the home prices really start to make its move all the way up to the spring, summertime. Then you see right at about the summertime here, we see that little bit of a decline, and then it really kind of just falls off a cliff all the way through the rest of the year. Now let's go over here to the right side. It was very flat to start the year, the first couple of months, and then it really picked up steam as we went through the springtime and now into the summer. Then you start to see this little decline right here. Take a look at that little decline, and then let's go over here. 2022, same time frame approximately. See the little decline? And then it goes all the way down. That indicates to me right here, we're hitting that plateau, and then we're going to finally start to see the drop off. Now, here's what I think. Historically speaking, you never want to be buying a home in that spring, summer time period, because that's where all the competition is, and then you get into bidding wars, and you don't want to go through all of that. Historically, the December through February time period is the best time to buy. And if you take a look here on that left chart, this is exactly what happened. They hit the lowest price points back in that December, January time period, and right now we're right up here mimicking exactly what happened pretty much in 2022 when we got to that summertime before it fell off. That's what I think is going to happen again. So again, patience is the prudent play. If you're thinking about buying a home, wait until we get closer to that New Year time period. All right, so I'm on the popular real estate website Zillow, and I wanted to show you this one example of a home that recently sold in Las Vegas for $1 million. I had someone in the comments section of my video last week bring up this home example to me, and I thought it was really interesting and actually really shocking. You can see right here next to my picture, this home sold for $1 million on June 15th. But take a look down here in the bottom right where I highlighted this. Back in December, about 7 months ago, this home was sold for $650,000. Now you can see to the left here, there's beautiful pictures of this home. It was fully remodeled. This person tried to sell the home on March 11th, 4 months later, for $1.2 million. That's almost a 100% increase in just 4 months. Now, if you guys don't know anything about real estate going all the way back, there's never been that kind of price appreciation ever in such a short time period. So what happened was they didn't get the sale price at 1.2, they lowered it to 1.1, all the way down to 1 million, and they sold it 7 months later for $1 million. Now, here's why I'm bringing this example up to you guys. This has never happened before again in the history of real estate. Price appreciation doesn't happen like this. The buyers that are doing this either have a lot of money and they don't care, or they're just reckless in terms of spending on a home that's not worth this kind of value. If they waited on this home, yes, it may have gone to another buyer, but why overpay so much money in this neighborhood, which I'm about to show you as the most expensive home in such a short period of time? You need to be patient. You need to sit tight. You need to not pay these kinds of prices that should never be valued at these levels from where this price was originally priced at the end of last year. All right, so now let's take a look at this neighborhood map view of that last home that I just showed you that sold for $1 million, because I want you to take a look at the overall neighborhood, recently sold homes, and estimated values of neighboring homes to show you that this is a lesson in what not to do in real estate. This home right here in the middle, I don't know if you can see it, it says $1 million right there. The neighboring homes are about $700,000. The recently solds are $600,000, $650,000, $700,000, $515,000. They're not even close to $1 million. What that basically means is you never want to overbid on a home. I don't care how nice it is. That's what a lot of people are doing. They're getting into trouble because they're overbidding. These homes should never be valued at that level, because this entire neighborhood is basically valued in the low 6s to low 7 range, and this home went for $1 million. You never want to buy the most expensive home in a neighborhood. So again, this all goes back to the same thing. Don't be overzealous, be patient, never overbid for a home, wait for those prices to come down, and you're going to ultimately get a better deal. So after seeing all of that data, I keep saying to myself, not again. People can't be this foolish to be buying homes at these price points with where interest rates are. And that's exactly what people have been doing during this popular spring-summer buying season. This is not the time to be buying a home, guys. If you have the ability to wait things out, the back half of this year, especially during that December through February time period, is likely where we're going to see some meaningful price drops, because rates are going up, more inventory is going to come to the market, unemployment's going to go up, buyer demand is going to diminish, and that means some price drops are going to start to happen. Whether they're meaningful or not, by the time we get to the end of this year, that remains to be seen. But I think the better opportunity to buy a home, without a doubt, is going to be in the new year and potentially well into 2024. So before we end today's video, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite comment from last week's video, and that goes to Dino. Now you can see their comments here on screen talking about how they were in the local Las Vegas area and how they went to 2 open houses in a place called Summerlin, and they were completely empty. There were no buyers. Now Summerlin is about 20 minutes west of the famous Las Vegas Strip, a little bit of a more affluent area. It's kind of like the Palm Springs of Las Vegas. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier in the video. A lot of people think homes are selling left and right, but if they are not priced properly, people are not going to be buying them, and they certainly aren't going to be showing up to open houses like what this person just experienced here this past weekend. And just remember, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave me a cool or creative comment down below, and of course, like the video as well. And my favorite comment from this week's video, I'm going to give a direct shout out to in next week's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I also hope you appreciate my transparency. Like I've said before, I'm always going to keep it 100% real on this channel regarding the overall real estate market, with specific emphasis here in the Las Vegas area. With that said, guys, like I've been advocating in many of my previous videos, if you don't have to buy a home right now, don't do it. Wait closer towards the end of the year if you can, because that's when I think we're going to start to finally see some price drops, because rates are going higher. It's still an ongoing process. It's likely going to take a 6 to 12 month window from the last time that the Fed raises rates before we really see some prices bottoming out. That could last well into 2024. So that's why I'm saying, guys, patience is the prudent play right now if you're thinking about buying a home. However, when you guys are thinking about buying a home, especially if you're thinking about relocating here to the Las Vegas area. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When the time is right for you, just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. I'll see you in the next video.